everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. We're your hosts, Truly and Daryl. Hey, y'all.
Yay.
And today we are starting our first mini-series of 2022, and we are going to be talking about making the leap to do more beyond the classroom. So this idea came about just talking with a few fellow educators, and Daryl is also in this list of people who it's not necessarily that you no longer want to teach in the classroom, but you do have a desire to do things that are outside of K-12 education, or even for those in higher ed, private studio, whatever it may be. And that could be pursuing professional performing career. It could be doing research. It could be whatever it is. But you want to do something outside of teaching specifically. So in this series, we're going to cover 5 tips, or I guess you could say things to think about, take into consideration. And each episode will be one of our tips, and we'll also match that up with our Instagram posts. So today's tip is to choose you unapologetically. I think this is one of the hardest ones for people, because it's hard to choose yourself sometimes, especially when you're so used to putting other people first. You're used to putting the students first. You're used to putting what administration wants first. You're used to putting the parents first, everyone but you. And sometimes you just kind of need to choose yourself. Like, you're worth it. And that is my first bullet point under that is you are worth it. Imposter syndrome may be real, but you can overcome it. And that is something we have talked about numerous times. We just spoke about it last week with our guest, Meredith, that imposter syndrome leaves you with that feeling of, do I deserve to be here? Am I capable? Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? And the answer is yes, you are capable, you are good enough, you are smart enough. Yeah. Choose yourself. And one that I always, I'm very guilty of this, is don't feel guilty for choosing yourself. Yeah, because if you don't, who will?
Right.
So, prime example, when I left the school system, you want to talk about people guilt tripped me? I was like, God, dog. I was like, okay. I was like, well, should I stay? Like, should I wait a little bit longer? And it's like, okay, but when exactly is going to be the perfect time to go? Like, when is going to be the next opportunity you'll get to go? And, you know, like, yeah, it sucks when you have to close a door, whether it was a, you know, completely great situation, or, you know, for most of us, like one that had ups and downs. And it's hard. However, you also have to look at the fact that it's like, okay, you have one life to live. Why spend it wondering whether or not something could have worked out when you could actually just go find out? Not to say that I could always just come back to the school system if I wanted to. But I mean, that turnover rate be real. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I could get a job. Like, pretty sure. I have no intentions of doing so. However, I know the option is there. And so I think that helped me a little bit with that guilt, was that I was like, okay, there was that safety net, if you will, that I'm like, okay, worst comes to worst, you know, it'll probably be a pay cut. I don't know that they would let me come in with what I was making when I left, but maybe because I had the master's already.
Yeah, and your years still stay the same.
Yeah.
Like coming back to it? Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, well, shit, yeah, well then look. Because let me tell you, I still be missing them benefits.
Right.
That health insurance was great. I was like, yeah, that was the hardest hit, was that those benefits. I was like, God, Lee. I mean, and I also took like a major pay cut, but on the flip side of it, I have had so many more opportunities to be in a happier headspace that I would not have had I stayed.
Right.
And so, the people who, felt the type of way, I assume they got over it. I don't think I actually care anymore.
Right.
Once I got the first job, I was like, oh, bet y'all good over there. Like, you'll replace me quickly. And that goes for pretty much any field, to be honest. Folks will replace you and they will not care.
Well, and it's important to know that you're replaceable, right? Like, because I think that's the thing about whenever you're in that position where you're trying to choose yourself or you're doubting whether or not you should do this, we always get into this, like, sometimes we get this, like, this God syndrome where we're like, I'm the best thing that has happened to this school. I'm the best thing that has happened to this program, to this studio, to whatever, classroom organization that you're set up that you're in, that you're like, oh, this place would not be anything without me. And you leave it and they hire somebody else and it still functions without you. Right. And so,
right.
and so then you're just like, oh, okay. So I guess I could have left or you know what I mean? I guess not that, that probably what you did in those spaces were not great things. But we have to get out of that mindset that, like, we are only, not that we're only, but that I think we just put so much into these programs and into these students and into these parents and communities that they become so much a part of us. And then, we feel like, without me, this would just crumble. And, the thing about it is, and I've come to realize that I want to create programs, create spaces to where if I were to leave, I want them to be successful when I leave. Like, I don't want to see something totally crumble, because I feel like if it crumbles after I leave, I feel like I did something wrong. Like, I didn't set that up. I didn't set up a really good foundation for it to be something that kept going for years, right? I think you find that, like, programs who, when they don't have good foundations, that's when they crumble when you leave, and you probably left for a good reason. It's probably good that you left, right? Because I obviously it wasn't a good situation for anybody, right? But I think even in that, though, like, I think we look at those situations and then think that we can't do any better, right? That, like, that's the best that we can do. And I think that's when we get that mentality that I can't leave because this is going to crumble or this is going to fail. And I think it also kind of reads that we're not good enough to do anything better than where we are, because that's the best that we're going to be able to be. And I think that, like you said, you're worth it. You're smart enough. You're capable enough to do more, right? And leaving and seeing what you left behind still mature and grow, I think just speaks to how capable and good enough and worthy enough that you are to leave it. And I think, those are things that you only realize it until you leave, right? Like, you don't know those things when you're sitting, they're looking at students' faces saying, I'm leaving, this is why I'm leaving, this is why I'm going. My move here to the DMV was really hard, because I was at a school where I had, prior to coming to this school, I was like ready to be out of teaching dance, period. Like, I was like, that's when I got my MBA. I was like, I'm looking for, like, maybe some type of arts administration, like, maybe advocacy, something else. Like, I was like, but maybe teaching dance was not for me. And when I got to the school, it was like totally like, I'm never leaving this place until I had to, or until I decided to. I guess I didn't have to, but until I decided to leave. And that was really difficult for me to leave it. And a part of me kind of felt like, oh man, this, no one's going to be as good as I was when I was here at this school, or, but this this school has gotten another person who has filled my position, and they are still thriving, right? You want them to thrive. You don't want to see something that you worked so hard for that someone else has worked so hard for to crumble. So it's nice to see that. But once again, you don't know that until you're on the other side of that. And I think that even for my current position now, like, the 5 years that I have really put into the program at my school has been tough, right? And I'm not in a place right now where I'm like thinking or even considering leaving it, but I still get those moments where I feel like I don't know if I'm, yeah, I some of those things about like being capable of leaving or worthy of leaving, or
Mhm.
even having that guilt, like, oh, I don't want to disappoint or let people down, kind of gets in the way when I start to kind of have those tiny feelings of like, well, I could go do something else, or maybe even do the same thing but do it at another school.
Mhm.
Um, and like you said, it's sometimes there's always like, oh, well, I'll leave after this class of kids leave, or I'll leave
Yep.
after this group leaves because I really want to stick around for like to see what happens with them. And then there's always like another group that comes
Mhm.
in, and you're just like,
Always.
oh no, okay, no, I'll leave after this group finally
Yeah.
graduates. And then you're like, okay, well, I've been saying that for 10 years and here
Yes.
I am. Still
Yes.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that feeling of when you are there and you're just like, well, I don't know that I can do any better than this. Like maybe I should just be, c- complacent, comfortable. I should just be happy with this. And it's like, but if you're not really happy, trying to convince yourself to be happy doesn't really work. And I know at least for high schoolers, they pick up on that energy real quick.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, I'm sure the younger kids do too. I just don't like teaching younger kids. So my reference point will be high school.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like kids can pick up on when you don't really want to be there with them.
Right.
Um, but also that part of it, I will say, is because I definitely have been one that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for this group to finish.
Mhm.
And so the other kids who I'm like, well, I wasn't really waiting for them, they knew what group I was waiting for.
Right.
And that kind of gives a type of energy. Not that I intentionally didn't teach them or anything. Everybody was taught. Like I do my job.
Right.
But you could tell that the energy and the investment
Hmm.
was aimed a very specific direction.
Hmm.
And so as that group starts to finish, like you said, another group comes in that you're just like, oh, but y'all are pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then there's that group in the middle.
Yeah.
That is
Like I feel
like,
like those are really the ones that like I mean, obviously those are sometimes the ones that are pushing you out, right? I mean,
mhm,
like not in like a figurative speech, right? Like those are the ones that make you like, ugh, like why am I doing
yes.
this? There's this group, they don't care, I don't care. Like
Mhm,
it's really difficult, and it sucks that there's like that happens where there's just always like a grade or a group that just really
yeah.
um, kind of kills it for other people. But also I think they those are kind of the group that telling you something that you already know, right? Telling something that you've been
Mm,
thinking about, and they sometimes are a blessing, right? They help you really just kind of like knowing the situation, which really kind of pushed you to be like, yeah,
mhm,
this it's time to go, right?
yeah.
Like they really were like, thank you for solidifying that decision for me because
Literally that. It was like, I thank you for making the decision for me because
right,
I was trying to hold on. It was like,
yeah, no,
let me go ahead. Let me
right,
go. And like I felt bad for that incoming group because they were
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Really enjoyed them, really enjoyed the energy. Would have loved to have worked with them longer. But
yeah,
also I was
but
like,
also, yeah,
I needed to choose me because
yeah,
even if I would have stayed for them, I wouldn't have been able to give them as much of me as I usually do when I'm giving my best
Hmm.
because I was dealing with the other chaos.
Right.
And then I would have felt guilty about that. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna feel guilty either way, then I may as well be in a space and environment that I feel I can grow in
Hmm.
and feel a type of way over there than be
Right.
miserable and know that I'm going to continue not only feeling guilty but feeling miserable.
Right.
But yeah, no, that child, that in between group, and it'd be
Yeah.
like every school. And I was like, it's always that group that you're just like, when are y'all done?
Yeah.
Everybody else is great. It's just y'all.
And even choosing, like, because for me, when I left, it was outside things, right? It was my
Mm-hmm.
partner being moving for a job, right? And like that was like the catalyst for my move, right? To move here. So it was like, you know, how I almost was like, well, we could be long distance for a little bit. Just let me stay a little longer. And like it's one of those things too, where like, it's not even choosing you and even the things around you. Maybe that involves choosing your children, right? Because there have been
Mm-hmm.
several, I know, dance teachers in Texas when I taught. Like that's where I saw it happen the most. Um, that taught and directed for 10, 15 years, and started maybe having kids around like year 8 or 9, right? And then once their kids became like 5 and 6, they realized, hell, I'm spending more time with somebody else's kids that I'm not watching my own children grow, right?
Yeah.
So then they're just like, you know what? It's time to leave, right? And so I think even that, right? Even your family being that that decision that are your family's worth it. Your family,
Mm-hmm.
you're capable to leave for your family, right? You're capable of doing something else to where you're able to do other things, whether it's your children, maybe it's caring for an elderly parent, which
Mm-hmm.
was something that our band director did a couple of years ago. Parents were getting older and just really felt like I need to be around them. I need to be closer to home. So left and had been at the school for 12, 13 years, right? So like that's a huge decision, right? When you've built this program and you've been there for so long to say, but also for his sake, there was also an opportunity that at home that was really
Yeah.
available for him too, right? So although you were leaving something that you had built for years, you were also, making decisions to go for this opportunity and be closer to family, right? So I think um it's yeah, I think if the classroom is becoming too much where it's taking you away from your like bigger aspirations, or even taking you away from family, you know you have to make that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
And
I agree because that again is in a way picking the lesser of two evils. I'm gonna feel guilty either way,
right.
but I would rather feel guilty about leaving a program that I have built. Yeah, some of the kids be sad.
Mhm.
Um, you never know who's going to come in after you. Most of us hope for the best,
Mhm.
but you never know. But I would rather feel bad about that than
Mhm.
I didn't spend time with my family.
Mhm.
Um, as a parent, like your kids are only young for so long. Like there's a time limit on how long they want to spend time with you sometimes.
Mhm.
Some people are fortunate to have those kids who are like, oh, I always want to be with mom. I always want to hang out. So I don't have them kids. Um, like they love me. However, they also be like, I'm on the phone with my friends.
Right.
I would like to go to the mall. I want to go do things. Can you drop me off and pick me up? Like, don't be here with us. And
Right.
so it's just like, okay. And I would hate to have missed some of the milestones that they've hit.
Mhm.
Now, have I missed some because I was doing stuff at work? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I would rather disappoint somebody else's child than my own.
Right.
Not trying to disappoint anybody's kid for real, but If
Right.
somebody got to take the L, let it be somebody else's kid, because I'm like, we
Right.
can work through that. We can figure that thing
Right.
out, but I
Right.
can't get that time back.
They're gonna get another dance teacher. They're not gonna, your kids ain't gonna get another mama.
Thank you. It's like, child, they will replace me with the
Right. Yeah.
quickness, but
Yeah.
I am the parent. Like,
Right.
it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I know, like, in the case of your band director, I could not imagine choosing to not go
Hmm.
and take care of aging parents. I can't.
Right.
I can't. I would feel like the worst child ever
Yeah.
for doing that. Because again, you don't, especially as like, we're adults.
Hmm.
Um, so our parents are definitely older. Not saying they're old, not saying
Yeah.
that, but also it's like, hey, you're getting closer to being up there.
Right.
If you need me, then I should be able to
Hmm.
come out.
Right.
Um, and like, now, am I the type of child who would be like, yes, I will be your home nurse? I ain't. I will hire somebody to do it. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't, I am not that committed. However, I'm also gonna like not still be like, okay, well, I'm gonna see you at Christmas.
Right.
Hope you make it them other 11 months. Hope you're
Right.
good. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, no, if I need to relocate and be like,
Right.
okay, I'm at least in like closer proximity,
Infinity.
then
Yeah.
I would rather feel bad about leaving something than I didn't leave and something's going on with
Right.
family.
Hmm.
So it's like, it's again like choosing what works best for you.
Hmm.
Because there are people out there who, maybe relationship with family isn't that great.
Right.
And it does not make sense for them to uproot their life like
Yeah.
that. Um, but it's
Yeah.
also making sure that you take the time to really think about what it is that choosing yourself means to you.
Hmm.
Um, for some people, choosing themselves just means making sure that they dedicate X amount of time out of their day to focus on training more, to focus on
Hmm.
studying more.
Right.
Um, some people, like, we look actively for artistic things to do outside of the classroom. Like, we look for performance opportunities, look for choreography opportunities. Like, we search
Yeah.
those things out because that's what will fulfill us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And sometimes with that K through 12 or even that higher ed positions and whatnot, you don't have all the time to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so, even for um, those people who decide to leave K through 12 for family or whatnot, right? Like sometimes you leave it also to still practice your craft, but in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because you want to have more time to do those things, right? I know a lot of people who, yes, they might have left for family or they left for their kids, but now, it opens up a lot of more opportunities to do, you know, maybe you start doing, I think one director has done competitions now, right? Like where, okay, I'm going to do, create this competition camp company. And now instead of working like every Friday, every weekend, or every night I'm staying late, it's something that I can do from home. I can still take care of my kids. And now I can host these competitions, for 3 months out of the year and then do camps, during the summer. And then other than that, I have time to hang out with my family and take care of my kids and watch my kids grow. Right. Or it could mean, like you said, just getting involved in taking more classes. It could be just, you know, teaching in a different way. It could be going from K through 12 to higher ed, where you have a lot more time um, than that 8 to 4
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Friday. Obviously, we know it's longer than eight to 4, but um,
Yes,
yeah.
because it is.
Yeah, but opening up a lot more opportunities to even create more, dance more,
Mhm.
perform more. So I think a lot of those life decisions, although you make those decisions to leave K through 12 or to leave higher ed, doesn't necessarily mean, like you're saying, that you have to you can't fulfill those you can't fulfill like your craft in other ways.
Yeah. And I think some people do mistakenly think that, okay, well, if I leave the classroom, then, I'm abandoning the field. It's like, no. I was like, you,
No.
you can
Yeah.
approach education from many a different way.
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about before, like it takes various different people and positions and perspectives in order to make the field whole and for the field
Mhm.
to grow.
Right.
And so just because I'm great at teaching doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be in the classroom.
Correct.
I could be using that to help train other educators or to help mentor other educators, to help bring up the next generation of educators. It
Mhm.
may not be that I was supposed to stay there.
Right.
And I think that actually really was one of my big things that I'm like, I love teaching. Like that hasn't changed. I still love to teach. But I was like, it's like, I feel like I'm still not doing what I'm supposed to be doing though.
Mhm.
And when I would have conversations with students, and this was still high school, I would talk to students and, they're trying to decide like what program they want to look into, the ones who really wanted to teach. Like, okay, well, first of all, are you sure this is what you want for your testimony? Because child,
Oh, yeah.
education is not easy. I was
Mhm.
like, for those who make it look easy, we put in a lot of work to do that. It's a lie. Like the mess is hard.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
like, but if it's really what you're supposed to be doing, you'll still enjoy it.
Mhm.
And so having those types of conversations with students and helping them really like kind of wade through the different program options and different ways they could approach dance education,
Mhm.
that to me was a highlight. Um, and as much as I love teaching classes, I enjoyed that more. And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, I think I could better serve being higher up,
Mhm.
because if I'm higher up on the chain, now I can reach more high schoolers and be like, hey, this is an option for you, because you know what? Wow, there's still so many who really don't know that this is a whole career path
Mhm.
somehow. And I'm like, it blows me that they still don't really know, but they don't. And so it's like,
Yeah.
hey, no, this is actual thing. Like, a lot of us actually have whole degrees in this. We have whole careers. Like it's a
Mhm.
thing. Come join us if you would like.
Mhm.
And then also having the students now, college, who are getting ready to go out into the world. And it's like, okay, like they're asking me, it's like, okay, well, if I'm teaching this, like, how do I explain this part? Like, what do I do if this happens? And I'm like, yes, ask me all the questions. If I don't know
Mhm.
the answer, I'm sure I can find someone who does. I was like, or we can
Yeah.
figure this thing out. I was like, but I love that exchange, that interaction of helping somebody else figure out where they fit into
Mhm.
this education side of dance.
Mhm.
Um, and again, not that I wouldn't have continued to have an impact had I stayed. However, I would not have been happy. I know that for sure. And I don't think I would have the same ability to have a higher impact.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, it's more so about, okay, how many can I reach and help, as
Mhm.
opposed to what am I most comfortable doing? Because going to higher ed was not comfortable.
Right.
It was actually nerve wracking, and like you said, like that group of, I call them everything but a child of God. That group of kids, because I still feel how I feel about them. I do. I'm petty
Yeah.
and childish. I don't care.
No, it's
Uh,
real. I mean,
Because I'm like, y'all old enough to know better, but then your parents are kind of raggedy, so I guess it makes sense.
yeah.
But it was just like, yes, those exchanges helped solidify the decision,
Mhm.
but it was already in motion that I
Right.
was just like, I'm having an okay time, but I'd rather be doing this. Like I'm itching to do something else. But then jumping out there, it was like, oh, like, wait, am I qualified to do this? Like, okay, yeah, I know I have all the degrees you're asking for, and I've been teaching for X amount of years. Am I qualified for this? Are y'all sure? Like,
Yeah.
you really gonna hire me? And so it was like working through that was wild.
Yeah.
But I will say I mean, and I ain't gonna hold you. I feel like that every semester that I'm like, y'all really gonna let me teach this class? Y'all gonna let me run that back? I mean, thank you. I will sign the contract, but y'all really gonna let me do it, huh? All right. That's cool, I guess. But I am in a happier place. I would say the schedule change has helped me tremendously with the PhD process because that's some bullshit right there. I'm just like, yo, I need all the extra time in my day and my week to get that together.
Yeah.
So I am thankful for it. But yeah, like there are still things I feel, I guess I can say I feel guilty about.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten better at looking at, okay, well, what is it that I really want?
Right.
Is this serving me in getting that?
Yeah.
And if it isn't, can I cut ties now? Or do I need to put like a longer range plan in place?
Right.
But ties will be cut because it's no longer serving me. And if it's not serving me, I don't want to be serving it.
Right.
So kind of related to that, another point is to give yourself grace. Give yourself time and freedom to figure things out. Mm-hmm. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
For some people, it comes immediate that I know exactly what it is I'd rather be doing. Yes, I'm going to do this. And for some people, it's like, I just know I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And I know folks will have you thinking that if you're saying, I just know I don't want to do this, that, oh, well, you're just tired. Oh, well, you just need to push through. And I was just like, you know what? Sometimes you actually just need to go.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're really off of that. And I'm just like, I understand in a lot of instances, people are well-meaning when they say it. But also I'm like, but I'm off it. Like because it irked me when people said it to me. And I was just like, but I've always said to y'all, I was like, the day someone gives me a chance to go to higher ed, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I was like, I've always said that. I was like, I always put that out there. I was like, y'all thought I was joking, I guess, but I meant it. I was like, no, I'll leave. I was like, I love what I do. I was like, but I will also go over there and do this thing. Right. I'm like, in my positive moments, I'm like, oh no, I'm more than qualified to do it. I know I am.
Yeah.
100% qualified. Then I get over there and I'll be like, oh, y'all really got me teaching all these classes. In fact, y'all really got me writing the whole syllabus, but okay.
Yeah.
We're going to work it out. But it's okay to not know exactly what it is you want to do and to just know that you're not happy. It's okay. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to beat yourself up about it. You don't have to feel bad that you don't immediately have the answer to what's coming next. Sometimes it's just enough to say, I know I don't want to do this. That in itself can be a step towards choosing yourself. Right. That, just the acknowledgement of, I know this no longer makes me happy. This doesn't serve. Right. And then my last little point was to be ready for the next adventure. And I chose the word adventure on purpose because there will be ups and downs. But there should be no regrets, only lessons learned. Right. And that's a whole mindset shift that I'm still, in process. Still giving myself grace with that it's, for example, the first place I taught after, I could say I regret the environment. But it was like, you know what? No, it served its purpose. I learned what I needed to learn through that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I keep relearning the same lesson. I was like, clearly I'm hard-headed. And I remember I had a department chair that said to me once, she was very churchy. She said, she was like, okay, well, if God is trying to teach you a lesson, then your job is to learn it, or he'll keep giving you the same one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? So I keep getting the same one. And my same one is know when to move on. Because I'm like, I have multiple times felt like, okay, I think I've done what I'm supposed to do here. But then I'm like, oh, but I'll stay for this group of kids. Or, oh, well, I'm making good money. I don't want to leave that yet. Or, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything else. So I'm not even going to look. And then as soon as I do that, shit hits the fan. And I'm just like... I'm like, Lord, why? And he probably looked at me like, sis, why? Like, I'm just like, I don't know. It's like, sir, I am trying, but clearly not hard enough, because I keep getting the same lesson over and over of it's okay to, that's the word I want, seasonal. Just like how some people are seasonal in your life. I was actually having this conversation with somebody. It's the same way for like positions. It's the same way for, career choices, hobbies. Some things are seasonal.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like it is fine to acknowledge, you know what, that was a great season. Mm-hmm. But now I need to move into the next one. And I think that transition of seasons is where I struggle. Because I'd be like, but I'm comfortable over here, though. And even when shit is hitting the fan, I'm like, but I know what this is. I don't know what that is over there. I don't want to go over there. And I think that's the part of that is imposter syndrome, I think. That it's like, I don't know that it's going to be okay. I don't know that I can handle it. Yeah. But then it's also like, okay, but if you know this is ending, stop waiting until you get pushed out the door. Like, walk out. Right. And that is, I think that's a perfect summary of choosing yourself unapologetically. Is you decide to walk out, not you got dragged out kicking and screaming.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Which I think also leads into some of the other topics that I think we'll discuss in the other miniseries too. In this miniseries, it's like, how do you prepare to walk out? Mm-hmm. How do you get yourself ready, and what does that entail? Yeah. In those moments.
Agreed. Yeah. Like, well, recap. So our first tip for you is to choose you unapologetically. You are worth it. Imposter syndrome may be real, but you can overcome it. Don't feel guilty for choosing yourself, because if you don't choose you, who will? Make sure to give yourself grace. Rome was not built in a day. Give yourself time and freedom to figure things out. It's okay if you don't know off the jump exactly what it is you want to do. It's okay to just know you need a change. And last is to be ready for the next adventure, because there will be ups and downs, but you shouldn't be regretting anything, because every loss is really just a lesson learned. So you're still winning. All right. Awesome. Yeah. All right. We look forward to continuing this series with you next week. If you have any questions, comments, observations, any of that jazz, drop us a line. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Also, across wherever it is in the world you can find us. And we look forward to bringing you some fresh new content next week with tip 2. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.